I've shared over 500 videos on YouTube. Isn't that wild? I have learned some serious lessons along the way. And interestingly, there's a bunch of lessons that I don't think anyone talks about at the moment. Those are the ones we're going to focus on today. So if you are a budding YouTuber, you're in the right place. By the way, this video is sponsored by Storyblocks. More on them later. First thing I've learned, the triangle of success on YouTube is real, but it has evolved.
What did that just mean?
I'm smiling to myself because you've definitely just listened to me say that and thought, what is she on about? Let me explain. When I first started on YouTube, I watched a video by a creator and I can't remember her name. I'm going to do my best to find her. If you know who I'm talking about, then drop her name in the comments, please. But I watched a video by a creator who was talking about this concept of a triangle of success on YouTube. And she was basically saying that if you nail 2 out of the 3 points on this triangle, then you will see success on the platform. I'm here to say that after sharing over 500 videos, she's right. It has evolved slightly, but the principle still very much remains the same. Let me break it down for you, right? So you've got a triangle. We all know what a triangle looks like, but let's put one on the screen just in case you've forgotten. On this triangle, there are 3 points. In order to succeed on YouTube, it is said that you need to be nailing at least 2 of these 3 points. The way in which I think this concept has evolved is that I now think you actually need to be doing all 3 points well, but you need to be excelling in at least 2 of them. So let's break down what these points are. The first point is value. So you need to be providing something of value on your YouTube channel. The second point is personality. So letting your personality, your tone of voice, your humor, whatever it might be, shine. And the third point is editing. So having good editing, which helps your content have a good pace and which keeps people engaged. Now, as I said, in the early days, like 5 days ago, which is basically the bloody stone age in social media world. In the early days, you just needed to be good at 2 out of the 3 of those and you'd be okay. So maybe you had an amazing personality and you were delivering a lot of value in your content, and that would be enough for you to succeed on YouTube without having to worry about how good your editing is. I think we've now evolved to the place where you really need to be doing each of these things to a pretty good standard, and you just need to be excelling in 2 of those. Let me use my channel as an example. When I first started out and I first heard about this theory, I was like, okay, I'm not an editor, right? I have an editor now. In the early days, I did edit my own content and I wasn't amazing at it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let my personality shine through my content and I'm gonna make sure my content is incredibly valuable. So the value that I deliver through my content is educational value, right? I'm always trying to teach you something. So that's very much what I focused on. And I do think focusing on those 2 things allowed me to grow at a pretty decent rate. Nowadays though, I actually realized that I need to do well on all 3 of those points. So I have to have good editing in my videos. I have to be delivering something of value. And I do need to be letting my personality shine, especially in a world of AI when everyone sounds like a robot. More on that later. So I need to be hitting all 3 of those points on that triangle, but I also know that I need to be truly excelling in at least 2 of those points in order to really drive my channel and really see some success on YouTube. So the 2 points that I think I'm excelling at the moment is editing, which is hilarious because again, I'm not doing my own editing, but my editor, Jamie, is exceptional. And I also think I'm excelling on the value point. Like I'm really trying to provide as much value through my content as I possibly can. Let me show you a real life example before we move on, right? And let's not use myself, let's use someone else. Let's take vloggers, for example. On the left, you're gonna see a vlog from a content creator called Zoe Ray. And on the right, you're gonna see a vlog from a creator called Monet, right? Both of these creators have good editing, show their personality, and deliver some value. The value is usually that they're relatable or they're entertaining, right? So both of these creators are hitting all 3 points of that triangle. However, they are excelling on different points of that triangle. Zoe's vlogs are very relatable, they're very authentic, and she really lets her personality shine. So she's excelling on the personality and on the value points. For Monet's vlogs, she's really excelling on the personality point, but also on the editing. Like, look at this intro. Wild. She's really using editing to enhance her vlogs, whereas Zoe does very simple, clean-cut editing, nothing fancy. Both creators see a lot of success on YouTube by hitting all 3 of those points, but excelling in just 2 of them. The next thing that I've learned after sharing an obscene amount of content on this platform is that nobody cares. And this could be taken one of 2 ways. This could be taken in a positive light or a negative light. It kind of depends on how you're feeling today. For a positive perspective, when you first start sharing content, no one really cares. And this is positive because a lot of us drag our feet when it comes to launching our YouTube channels because we're so worried about what others think. And the truth is, people aren't really thinking about you. We're all just thinking about ourselves. Like, let's be real. If you're familiar with my content, you know what I'm about to say. This is my favorite quote that I love to just repeat because it really got me through that initial hump of feeling so awkward creating content and worrying about what others are going to think. And the quote is, it's from the streets: "You'd worry less about what they thought if you realized how little they did." It's basically saying you would worry less about what everyone's going to think about your YouTube channel if you realized how little they're actually going to think about your YouTube channel. They don't care. They've got their own stuff that they're dealing with, right? So that's a positive way that you can look at it. On the negative side, nobody cares about your content, which is great when you're thinking about friends and family who you don't want to see your content. But what about everyone else? The fact that nobody cares isn't reserved just for the people who you don't want to care about you. It's also applicable to people who you do want to care about you. You have to convince them to care. And that is your biggest job and the hardest job that you have when you are starting out on YouTube. This is especially difficult if you want to start a YouTube channel that is purely vlogs. I'm not saying don't do it, guys, but do you know how hard it is to get a bunch of strangers to care about your day in the life? It is super, super difficult. If you are someone who is struggling to get people to care about your content in the early days, the biggest tip I can give you is to wrap whatever video you're creating in some kind of value. If you're creating a vlog for the day, instead of just being like, come follow me around for the day, or like day in the life as someone who works in corporate, make that vlog valuable in some way and ensure that you're clearly communicating that value in your thumbnail and in your title. If we take the example I just said, like day in the life of a corporate girly, maybe the value there is like how you have work-life balance as a corporate girly. That's what should be in your thumbnail. That's what should be in your title. That's the value that someone can get from your video. Right? The next thing that I've learned is that authenticity will save you from AI. I'm not here to paint AI as a big bad robot, although, I mean, it kind of is sometimes, right? AI is scary. Every day I get more and more scared by AI, but then also I use AI on a regular basis because it is an incredibly powerful tool. So I'm not here to scaremonger you and be like, you shouldn't be using AI because they're going to take over the world. Instead, what I am here to do is to talk about how you can still thrive and build an amazing YouTube audience in a world where there is more and more content being shared on YouTube that has been completely produced by AI. When I say completely produced, guys, I mean end to end. AI has come up with the video title, the video script, AI has created the voiceover, and AI has created the actual videos which is used in the content. So there are videos being uploaded as we speak right now to YouTube which has had no human input at all. That is scary for a lot of creators because it begs the question, how do we compete with the big bad robot? And the answer is, we don't try to. The more authentic we are in a content, the easier it will be for us to stand out in a world of content that has been wholly produced by AI. In order for us to continue to create content that is competitive in this new world, we need to lean into our human side. So we need to be sharing human stories. We need to be sharing real life experiences. And this strategy needs to be apparent when we're on camera, but it also needs to be reflected in the assets that we're using to enhance our content. Now, if you're not new here, then you'll know that one of the best, most effective ways that we can enhance our content and really drive our storytelling is by utilizing stock media footage, videos, audio, sound effects, special effects, etc. And one of my favorite tools for doing that is Storyblocks. Now, Storyblocks have partnered with talented artists to produce 10 exclusive collections of footage that capture genuine human experience with stories and emotions that AI simply cannot replicate. In addition to these collections, Storyblocks has a huge library of artist-created stock media, which is irreplaceable when it comes to fostering genuine connections with your audience. Now, I know that generative AI is a thing. However, it's not a universal solution for all creative work. When you join Storyblocks, you get access to all of the content that I've just mentioned at one monthly predictable cost so that you don't have to worry about pay-per-click pricing. In addition to this, all of the content that you use via Storyblocks comes with the highest level of legal coverage. So you won't have to worry about copyright restrictions or anything like that when you use Storyblocks to source your stock media assets. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/Jade Beeson or click on the link in my description. All right, so the next thing I learned through sharing a ridiculous amount of content on this platform, and this one's a bit of a bummer, I'm not gonna lie, and it's that controversy. How do I say that word? We're gonna go with a controversy. Controversy, that doesn't sound right. I'm just going to roll with it. Controversy sells, right? Now, this isn't anything new, right? There were studies done years ago which said that negative headlines on like traditional media outlets get far more clicks than positive ones. So this is something that's existed throughout all forms of media. I have just noticed that it's been taken to extreme lengths when it comes to social media content, right? This isn't just YouTube, this is all social media content. Essentially, the more sensationalized your content is, the more negative it is, the more rage baity it is, the better it performs. And the reason why this is is happening is because more and more content creators are earning an income through their content, which I love. I mean, if you know me, then you know that that is something that I massively champion. However, when your income is tied to how well your content performs, it can sometimes create a bit of a toxic environment. Because if one day you decide to create a piece of content that leads with a negative headline and that performs well and you earn a lot of money for it and you're able to charge more money for brand partnerships through it, the next time you sit down to ideate your next piece of content, you're probably going to want to do the same thing, right? You're going to think, well, that worked and that was a bit negative, so I'm going to do something negative again. And maybe you're going to push it one step further and go even more negative and even more sensationalized because you know that that's going to get more and more clicks. And the next thing you know is a year later and all you share is rage bait. Right? It's a slippery slope. I have actually battled this for years. I don't think there is a creator out there who hasn't, subconsciously at least, considered going down a more negative route in order to get more views. For example, people will quite frequently message me when there's drama going on in the creator space that is linked to money or brand deals, and they'll ask me to speak on it. And I know that if I stitched a reel from a creator and I shared my perspective, that would probably be negative because that's the reason why it's going viral. I know that I'd get more views on that content, but I just don't want to feed the negativity and I don't want to jump on the hate train. So therefore I don't do it. But I'm well aware that I'm leaving money on the table. And that is a hard concept to get your head around, right? I do have some good news for you. I'm not saying that you have to start being more negative and that's the only way to approach things. Actually, I have two pieces of good news for you, right? Because there's two different ways you can do this. First of all, if you do find yourself gravitating towards more negative headlines, there is a way for you to do this without like selling your soul. For example, when I upload content which says like mistakes you're making online, that's technically a negative headline. But in that video, I'm telling you the mistakes you're making and I'm telling you how to solve them. So actually it has like a positive outcome. You can adopt a similar strategy. The other piece of good news I have for you is that not everyone wants to click on the negative stuff. There are so many people out there who purposely avoid the rage bait. They don't want to engage with negative headlines. So if you don't want to lean into that strategy, don't. You will appeal to the people who don't want to consume that content, right? So it's not all doom and gloom. So at least that's some good news. The next thing I've learned through being on YouTube for so long is that big YouTubers use different strategies and we should not be copying them. I've said big YouTubers, but it's not even the big YouTubers. We basically should not be copying YouTubers who are in a different season of their journey. I should not be looking at a YouTuber who has millions of subscribers and be thinking, maybe I should create my thumbnails in a similar way to them. That's not what I should be doing. I shouldn't be comparing my output to them because we are on different levels and they are playing in a completely different space to me. The perfect example for this is when I work with YouTubers and they say to me, I know you told me that I need to do this, this, and this on my thumbnail, but I've just seen a thumbnail from Emma Chamberlain and it's just her face in a supermarket. So like, why can't I just do that? And I'm like, my love, Emma Chamberlain has very different strategies to the strategies that I use and you use because she is in a different stratosphere of YouTube success. She can upload a thumbnail where it's just her face because her face is so recognizable and she's so famous that that's enough. No one needs anything else, right? Whereas for us in our early days, we need to be explaining what our video is about in our thumbnail. And we need to be doing that in a way that's super, super engaging and super attention grabbing. Otherwise people aren't going to click on it because our face is simply not enough to get people to click on our videos, right? One day we might be able to do Emma Chamberlain and just not do anything with our thumbnails. But right now we have to adopt a different strategy. And that, in my opinion, is a great example of why we shouldn't be copying creators who are a lot bigger and more successful than us. The next thing that I've learned, and this is also just a tough pill to swallow, is that when you create content on YouTube for a while, it has to evolve and it has to change. You might hear me say that and think, but Jade, your content looks exactly the same. And to that I say, I know, and I'm working on it. YouTube evolves just like every other social media platform. Your audience also evolves too, and you have to evolve as well. And I hate to break it to you because honestly, it's a bit of a bummer. Like a lot of us get to a place where we're really comfortable with the type of content that we're creating, whether it's vlogs, whether it's sit down talking head videos, and we spend years trying to improve them and trying to get them to a point where they're super, super valuable and super entertaining. And then one day we wake up and realize, we have to change it because our audience are going to get bored. The fear of change will hit you and it will surprise you because it feels almost similar to when you're first starting your channel, but in some ways different because it feels like you've got more to lose because now you've got an audience of people who you don't want to disappoint. And that's like a really difficult thing to grapple with. If you wanted to get a peek into where my content creator brain is at right now, it's exactly that. I have been working on a series for like a year to try and combat this problem, but for so many reasons, it's not here yet. One day I'm going to do a full story time on this when I'm able to talk about it because it's been a journey. But just know that yes, your content will need to evolve. It cannot stay the same forever. And that is just a reality that we all have to face, unfortunately. All right, you still with me? Because we're going to talk about the final thing that I've learned. And this is that consistency is important, but not just for the reasons that everyone harps on about. People talk about consistency all the time. We get it. We have to be consistent. Most of the time, people talk about the importance of consistency through the eyes of like the algorithm. Like YouTube's algorithm likes it when you're consistent. By the way, if you want to know more about YouTube's algorithm, I uploaded a whole video about how it actually works, and everything that I share in that video is actually backed up by YouTube themselves. So I'm going to link to it above because I think you would find it very, very valuable. But back to my point. YouTube likes it when you're consistent. It likes to know when you're going to post. It likes to figure out who's going to want to see your video. It helps them with the algorithm and it helps keep the YouTube platform going. However, there is another reason why consistency is important. And in order to have this conversation, we need to bring in another term here, and that term is frequency, because the two go hand in hand. And I think we often forget that. Frequency is how often you're posting. Consistency is sticking to that schedule. If you marry those two things together and you are posting 2 long form videos a week, 5 shorts a week. That's a great posting schedule, by the way, if you want to steal that, especially in your early days. And you're doing that every single week for a year, that is going to have a huge impact in how quickly you reach your goals on YouTube. Let me put it this way. If someone came up to you right now and said, by the way, it's going to take you 100 videos before you really nail it, and before the algorithm starts to push your content out, and before you really get to a place where you're really proud of what you're creating, would you make any changes to your current posting schedule? Because I'm willing to bet that a lot of you would. If right now you're uploading 2 long form videos a week and someone says to you, you need to upload 100 long forms before they get good, I'm willing to bet that you're going to start to upload 2 to 3 long form videos a week, because you know that you're going to get good one day and you can see that goal. I want you to set a goal like that for yourself, and I want you to stick to it. I like to call it a commitment goal. In my first year of YouTube, I told myself that I would upload 2 long form videos every single week. Shorts weren't really a thing back then. So it was just 2 long form videos a week, and I would do that for 12 months, and I was not allowed to quit until I had reached that milestone. Fortunately for me, I started to get traction before the 12-month mark, but that commitment goal really kept me going, because there was a point when I was about 3 months in and I was spending all my weekends, all my evenings outside of work, creating YouTube content just for it to be viewed by a few people, like crickets. And those few people were probably my mates, my mum, my dog, you know? There was a point where I wanted to quit, and there will come a point where you want to quit too. But I told myself that I was not allowed to quit until I reached that 12-month mark. And therefore I did not quit. A caveat I'll say here is that I started during 2020. So we all remember what was happening during that time. There were a lot more people consuming YouTube content. So I actually think if you want to set yourself a similar goal, I think your goal should be 2 years or at least 18 months of consistency. Okay, my loves, those are some of the things that I've learned. Don't forget that you can get access to unlimited stock media downloads at one set monthly cost when you join Storyblocks. Head to storyblocks.com/Jade Beeson or click the link in my description. If you feel like hanging around, I recommend watching this video. It is a full tour of my YouTube kit. Every single thing that I use, the settings that I use, etc. It is a must watch if you are a YouTuber. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I can't wait to see you in my next video.